Hello, hello Chopra family. Welcome to Healthy Habits. This is Dr. Sheila, and I'm so grateful today to be here with the amazing yogi, Eddie Stern, who will be sharing his wisdom with us and helping us to learn some breathing practices to calm, energize, and heal. And I just love listening to Eddie. He's so full of wisdom, and especially around breathing, because it's one of my favorite practices, along with meditation, of course. But breathing is just such a practical, easy tool, to have in our back pocket. We take our breath with us everywhere we go. And so I think what we don't always realize is what a powerful healing tool it is, and that we can breathe consciously in certain ways, hello everyone, to facilitate healing and have different effects on our physiology, which Eddie will be explaining to us and hopefully walking us through a few practices. Just waiting for him to sign in here, and then we will get going. So just let me know where you're from, where you're signing in from. It sounds like you can hear me, which is good, because we're trying to reduce echo by using headphones. Hello, hello everyone. Yes, this will be saved in, hello from LA, breathwork, yay, I agree. This will be saved in our Chopra IGTV on our feed. When you go to IG, the Chopra IGTV, it definitely will be saved and probably worth a second watch. Hello from Russia. Hello from Missouri, South Africa, Texas. Welcome, welcome. Hello from Portugal, Italy, Australia, Iowa. So many beautiful places in our global community. So just waiting for our special guest, Eddie Stern, to sign in. Just keeping my eyes out for his request. Hello, Ventura, California. I lived there for a little while. New Zealand, somewhere I'd love to visit. San Diego, my home. Hello, hello, everyone. I love seeing our global community and all of the ways that we can connect now, of course, with technology, using it in a good way. Hello from Mexico City. Wonderful. All right, just looking for Eddie here. Hopefully he'll be signing on shortly to talk about breathing, using our breathing for healing. And again, as I mentioned, we can use our breath in many different ways to affect the physiology. We have articles on Chopra.com that you can read. We have I have a few other Instagram live videos on the IGTV feed. And also Eddie, if you don't have our Chopra Meditation and Wellbeing app, then you should definitely download it and subscribe, because Eddie has a 4-part series on the app, and it's called Breathwork for Balance. So you'll be able to join him in our app as well. Sorry, Eddie, just still looking for you here. I have a lot. I see all these requests here, but I don't see Eddie. So we'll keep waiting here. Give me 1 minute here to just send a little note. And then, again, the Chopra Meditation and Wellbeing app for his breathwork series. And also we do have other breathing meditations on the app. Breathwork is one of my favorite practices, because just sending a note here to make sure we're all on the same time zone and everything. Here, great. Yeah, I'd love to invite him. That's a good recommendation, although we usually ask the person to request to come in. So, I'm just asking if you have questions for me, please post them. I try to keep an eye on the comments. The app is free. Many meditations on the app are free, and if you subscribe, it opens up other programs for you. And it is coming on Android, I hear. So for you Android users, it's coming. And we are just going to start introducing Ayurveda into the app, as well, Ayurvedic personalized content, which is one of my passions. So you can join for free. And again, there are many, many wonderful free meditations. There are breath meditations. So I'll just tell you my experience with breath, since that's our topic for today. I started in my path with yoga, doing asana practice, as most people do, which is the postures, right? You go to class, and yes, there was some breathing involved, but I didn't really know too much about it. I learned about yoga when I was younger, and I saw these yogis doing these very intense breathing practices, and I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? And then, but I started meditating. That was a daily practice for me, and is now, and doing some asana, some yoga movement, the movement part. There's 8 limbs to yoga, and the asana, the postures, are only one. And the breathing is a whole branch of science in the yoga tradition. And that's what Eddie is so expert in. And what brought me to it actually was when I started learning the science of the breath and how we can use the breath to affect our physiology through the nervous system, through these 2 branches of our nervous system. And I dove into the research and the science, and I thought, wow, this is a really powerful practice. And although all the different types of breathing practices are good, they do have somewhat different effects on our physiology. So, there are different types of practices you can rotate through. You can use them depending on what your needs are in the moment. And it's usually part of asana or a yoga class practices. So I started using the breath, and it became immediately my favorite tool, because you can do it again anytime, anywhere, eyes open, eyes closed. I do have my meditation practice where I sit and I do my meditation, but my breathing I can do standing in a line if I'm feeling a little hot-headed or a little frustrated, because that's my little trigger I have, is waiting in lines. So I can just breathe, and nobody even has to really know that I'm doing it. Sometimes I'll even do a little vibration that only I can hear. And let me see if this is him here. Nope. And so it instantly became one of my favorite practices, and it does create an immediate sense of calm and release of kind of tension in the body, tension in the mind. But also what I found, and what keeps me doing this as a daily regular practice, is, yes, let me see. I'm checking on Eddie here. I've got an email out, so we'll see. We're in different time zones, so I think we're on the same page here, but we'll see. But I'll keep talking about breathing. So someone had asked, yes, as we have the stress response in our body, we tend to breathe shallow and just from the chest. And with yoga practice and learning about breathing with the diaphragm, and that we really, oh, he's waiting. I better find out. Okay, so sorry, Eddie. I'm going to find out what name he's requesting from, because it may be. Oh yes, deep breathing. Someone's sharing helped someone heal from COVID. So good for our lungs, and in many different ways. Even when we're healthy, it optimizes our breathing. And as I said, you only need to do 10 minutes a day to shift your baseline. So not only is it helping you immediately, but it's also shifting your baseline so that on a day-to-day basis, you're not coming from this overactivated nervous system in this space. And really, you only need to do about 10 minutes a day to shift that physiology. So hold on, folks. We'll be right with you and figure things out. This is how technology works, right? And if anything, while we're waiting, we can breathe. That's what I do often, is when I'm waiting for things, again, in lines or in traffic, I use my breath. I just, you can do it with your eyes open so you're still paying attention to what's happening around you. And so while we're waiting here, we can breathe, right? Chopra account. Okay. I think we're getting close. We may be on different accounts here because I have my personal account. And let's see here. We will get started. And if it doesn't work today, we can always have Eddie back. We're communicating by email, so I know we're trying here. Let me see here. I will get some technical support. And we will get connected with Eddie. And like I said, check him out on our app. We will definitely, if we can't get it figured out for today, we will definitely bring him back, because Eddie is part of our Chopra family. He's been with Deepak for, doing things with him for a long time. And so we will definitely have him back if needed. Okay. Let's see here. Be right with you. Alrighty. So breathing, breath work. Are we all breathing? And one of the keys to breathing, before we even talk about the different types of breathing, I always like to teach people just belly breathing, where you relax your muscles, you relax your abdomen. And if you don't meditate, again, just start with breathing, because breathing has very similar effects. Of course, they're both different, and we like to do both. And so you want to start with, yes, someone commented, when you breathe a lot, you can stay calm even no matter what's happening, right? And that's definitely something I noticed. But again, we want to breathe with our diaphragm. It's the big muscle that sits below our lungs, between our abdomen and our chest. And it's a muscle. So it's meant to contract down into the abdomen to expand our lungs. We don't want to be breathing like this. Even if we're doing deep breathing, but we're lifting up our chest, we're actually pulling up on the diaphragm. So we're not, letting the diaphragm contract down into the abdomen. Now, eventually, when your diaphragm is strong and you can breathe with your diaphragm, you can hold your core in. Like they teach you sometimes in yoga classes, you can keep your abdominal muscles taut. Let's see. And then you can sorry. In and commenting. We might have to bring him back. I don't know. So yes, so you want to breathe with your belly. So the first thing is when you first start doing breathing, you want to relax your abdomen. And so then you want to slow down your breath. So you want to count, usually in the beginning, eventually, when your breath becomes slow automatically when you do these breathing exercises, you may not have to count. So, but in the beginning, it's nice just to get used to what a slow breath is. To count to 4 or 5, relax your abdominal muscles, and even look at your body. You know, look and make sure you're not, you're breathing here in Prague. Awesome, thank you. Your chest and abdomen should come out, not like up like this. So try to keep this all relaxed. And sorry, still trying to figure this out. Okay, so we're having some issues with Eddie, but we will definitely bring him back. I think we might have to bring him back, which of course it's never, we can never have too much talking about breathing. I'll let everyone know you say hi. For some reason, okay, just talking about breathing. Okay. This happens in life, right? This is a perfect example for us of the universe giving us to stay present. And again, we don't have to, oh, he found me. Okay, wonderful. Maybe he is coming. All right. Here he is, here he is. Yay, we did it, folks. We did it. Okay, I think he should be coming on in a second here because I did accept him. Yay! Hi, Eddie.
Hey, doctor. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. You know, it was like the universe giving us this perfect opportunity to practice our breathing. So
Totally.
I was breathing, I had everyone else breathing, and we're starting the conversation about the breath and how important it is. So it's so amazing to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Nice to see you.
Yes, absolutely. And I just, again, kind of got started talking about the breath and how important it is and what a practical tool it is to use in our lives. And so we'll further the conversation. But first, I'd love to hear your insights and perspectives on yoga and pranayama or breathing and how it's impacted your life and kind of your journey with the breath.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
first of all, thanks for having me. And second of all, I
Yes.
apologize for keeping everyone waiting.
No worries.
I didn't see the Chopra IG Live thing coming up across the top.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to your page and then clicked on the thing and got there. So there we are.
There we are.
All right. So I you know, I don't know where to begin. I've been practicing yoga since the 1980s, and I primarily started off with chanting and meditation and not asanas or pranayama or things like that. All those came later. And the context I had for yoga was that it was this was part of the Hindu tradition, and it was a quest for liberation and for spiritual enlightenment, you could say, rather than the mundane enlightenment of just making the world work in your favor. So that's always been the format by which I've done these practices. And with pranayama, that when I started learning it, quickly became one of the things that I was most drawn to. And I felt that the practices were not so much breathing practices as they were practices that were giving me access to the nervous system and to the brain. And that if the instruction in the Yoga Sutra was that pranayama prepares you for pratyahara, or the movement, the inward movement of the sensory perception, and then prepares you for meditation, then was going to be something more than a breathing practice, but it was going to be a practice for what's that place in us that is processing the activity of thought, which is the brain, and how am I going to access and control that in order to not be overwhelmed by engaging with that at a super high level like we do most of the time. So I still take that view of pranayama, that they're not breathing practices and it's not breath work. It is a practice which is amplifying or expanding our usage of prana. And prana, which is a vital force, has 5 main aspects and then 5 sub-aspects, as you know. And the 5 main aspects are going to be the different functions of the autonomic nervous system. So prana is incoming nourishment, and apana is outgoing waste, and samana is assimilation or digestion, and vyana is the spreading out of all of the things that are brought in that are going to nourish us, and udana is how we act on those things in the world, so the active process of using nourishment. So if that's what pranayama is, and it's working with the overarching chief of all of those operations, then obviously this is much more than breathing. So I like to, at the outset, especially these days, is really make a distinction between breath work and the popular breath work practices that we might see, like holotropic breathing or Wim Hof or Buteyko or any of those things, which, though they're very beneficial, the idea behind them is not that this will prepare you for meditation, and that meditation will move you in the direction of self-knowing, of self-knowledge. And that's the project of yoga. The yoga project is, who am I? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? And I'm just going to move so I have a little more light on me. And so pranayama serves that purpose. That's what it does. It's in service of the quest for self-knowledge. And along the way, there might be some peripheral health benefits. It might be good for cardiovascular health. It might be good for the pancreas to balance some of the problems that occur with different types of diabetes. It might be good for emotional regulation. It might be good for time on task. It might be good for anxiety and stress. It definitely is. It's good for all those things, but primarily what it's good for is to prepare us to move towards learning, knowing, revealing who we truly are.
Yes.
So that's
Thank you so much, for that perspective. Yeah. And again, I think it's easy to forget that, and also people, because it is such a powerful practice, and how in how it can affect our physiology. You see, as you mentioned, a lot of different ways to use the breath for a specific outcome other than spiritual enlightenment. Although in its purest form, like pranayam, I love that distinction you made, is about the expansion of prana, which carries this divine intelligence throughout every cell of the body. So then the outcome that we see is better health, more balanced emotions, because that is who we are when we remove some of the obstructions to that natural state. So it's much like in the West, how yoga or the asanas are used, and they are good for physical fitness and health, but really ultimately yoga and all the branches are a spiritual practice, as you said. And so for people who are having challenges with meditation, and as the yogis did, doing some pranayam before a meditation practice can really help to then settle and go in a little bit more inward as a preparation for our meditation. So, yeah.
And you also see pranayama.
Whoops. I think you froze a bit. I think you're frozen for me. I don't know if everyone else is seeing that or not. Hopefully that you will come back online here in a moment. And of course, definitely appreciating Eddie's deep wisdom and connection to, whoops, we lost him. He'll come back. But again, yes, and even in my kind of medical mind, I can tend to get attached to some of the physical benefits of breathing. I think he's coming back. He re-requested here, so we'll get him back. There we go.
Hey
We're
there.
back.
Yeah.
You were saying.
Yes. So that also before before you do puja or the ritual worship in Hinduism, also there are a couple things that you do to purify yourself and purify the mind before you begin worshiping the devas. And one of those things is pranayama. One is bhuta shuddhi, the purification of the body. And then after that you do pranayama to focus your prana, to direct it towards your worship. And so really, I mean, not really, but that is one of the things which is definitely occurring when we talk about pranayama, is that we're focusing our awareness through using the breath. And of course, if it comes to meditation and preparing yourself for meditation, you want to understand, number one, what your awareness is, how you can direct it, and how also you can kind of amplify, expand, or maximize it. Maximize maybe not the best word. And so in the yogic text, we see that prana, which the etymology is that which causes things to move, including our mind and our body and our physiological systems and the planets and the stars and everything that moves, gravity, that it is equated also with the mind. And so the breath and the mind and awareness are all going to be part of the same movement. Wherever you direct your attention, that's where your prana is going. So if we're looking at our phones all day long, our prana is going to the phone, and it's going to become disturbed because the activity on our phones and on our computers are very fast moving. And so our pranic field is then going to get caught up into the speed of social media, the speed of email, the speed of whatever it is. And if we're out in nature and we're just looking at a tree or looking at a flower, which express themselves more slowly than the speed of a Twitter feed, for example, then your prana is going to begin to match itself with the speed of nature, the speed of what you're observing. So when we look at prana, it's not just breathing, but it's also awareness, and it's also the mind, and it's also the speed of our entire being. And what we want to do is if we have a lot of tension, if we have a lot of anxiety, if we have a lot of confusion, if we have doubt, if we have any of these things, then we want to slow down the speed of the mind, which is manifesting as doubt, confusion, even boredom, anxiety, or anger. And we want to slow that down so that it becomes very even. And in that evenness comes clarity. So we're going to use the breath, which is the mind, and which is also awareness, to begin to create that even field so that clarity arises. And Patanjali says in Yoga Sutra that when we get to the deep expanse of awareness, then ritambara tatra prajna, then the energy that is holding universal cosmic order, which we are part of, shines forth in the field of our awareness. So all we need to do is make everything very, very, very calm, very, very smooth and even. And then in that clarity, insight automatically shines through. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're preparing for this spontaneous or automatic, revelation. So
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So this idea of breath and mind and awareness, like that triad, always needs to be reinforced when we're doing these practices. If they're not, then they will become something else. They might become deep breathing, Now, deep breathing isn't bad for you, but excessive deep breathing, and you can tell us more about this, can potentially be harmful. It can affect the elasticity of the lungs. It can cause tension in the baroreceptors, all sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you're a part of our teacher training, your videos and sharing your knowledge of breathing practices, we also do share. There are times, we have to take these practices seriously. There are times when where they may have effects that we're not necessarily looking for, or that may not be the right ones for us. So we have to, respect that these practices have lots of different effects on our physiology. And I share some of those things in our teacher trainings as well. Like, there are times when we don't want to hyper expand or hold the breath too long. So it is important to get, good instruction when you're doing pranayama practices, so you aren't doing anything harmful, although in general, some of these basic practices that we can start with can be good for many different people and are safe to perform. Would you mind walking us through a simple breathing practice that people can do if they are feeling a little anxious, or they have been on their electronic, or, their phones and want to turn them off and quiet the mind through the breath? Can you kind of walk us through a nice, simple practice that we can do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And we'll do one of the practices that we do on the Chopra app. And I just want to answer Marion 3H's question. So deep breathing isn't good. How should we breathe? So it's not that deep breathing isn't good. What we're really looking at in the pranayama practices is lengthening the breath, is long, even breathing. And
Right.
Patanjali, who is one of the sages who codified the teachings of yoga, said that the breath should be dirga and sukshma, which means it should be dirga, which is long, and sukshma, it should be subtle, it should be fine, not deep, deep gasping breaths. But long, smooth, even breaths are going to have a long, smooth, even effect on our nervous system, particularly autonomic nervous system, and then on the mind. So what we'll do is we'll do a pranayama practice that has, I call it the rose pranayama, simply because that's the meditation or the visualization that we'll use. And this is what you'll do. You'll sit comfortably, anyone who wants to try this, and you'll close your eyes or keep them open, either is okay. You don't have to sit up super straight, just sit comfortably. And bring your awareness to the breath in your nostrils. And you might notice that as soon as you start paying attention to your breathing, that it changes a little. Maybe you automatically take a little bit of a longer breath, because the breath is happening all through the day, but when we observe something, it changes that thing that we're observing. And we know this, of course, from physics. And also we know it from our own experience. Okay, so now, as you're aware of the breath in your nostrils, begin to lengthen the inhalation and exhalation by about 1 second on both the inhalation and exhalation. And then bring your awareness to the olfactory nerves in the nose, where your sense of smell is. And imagine that you are gently grasping for the smell of a rose, which is across the room from you, or maybe at a table in front of you. If you don't like the smell of roses, you can use lavender or jasmine or sandalwood, or the smell of chocolate chip cookies. It could be anything. Any smell that you really like. Just imagine that you're gently grasping for it. And then, as you draw the breath into your nostrils, try to lengthen the amount of time that you're enjoying that scent. And then when you exhale, just keep your awareness at that same place in the nose. not even thinking about filling your lungs. You're just keeping your awareness at the sense of smell, imagining you're breathing in a scent that you really like, and extending the amount of time that you'd be smelling it. And when you exhale, keep your awareness at that same place in the nose, high in the nasal cavity. Dirgha and Sukshma, long, thin, and subtle. So you're not grasping for the scent, but you're savoring the scent in the nose. Okay, now relax the breathing for a minute. We'll just do one experiment. Take 1 or 2 breaths where you try to fill your lungs now as much as you possibly can. Just think about filling your lungs. Don't think about your nose. And just notice the sensation in your chest as you try to fill your lungs with breath. And then relax that. And then just one more time go back to breathing high in the nasal cavity and see the difference. Notice if you can actually take a longer breath or a fuller breath from directing high into that area. Okay, and then relax the breathing for a moment, just sit quietly. And then we can open the eyes.
Wow, wonderful. I love that. I have not done that before. Thank you. And I definitely noticed a difference. It's softer, as you mentioned, and slower, definitely, without even having to really think about it or count or anything. It just automatically slows it down. Yeah.
That's right. And
Marvelous.
could you feel that when you tried to fill your lungs, it created tension?
Yes, that's the other thing I noticed. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to tell people to like kind of keep the muscles relaxed down here, it can be kind of hard. Moving the awareness to the back of the nose and that practice completely shifted. Absolutely. I love that. Oh my
Cool.
goodness. Thank you.
So I'll tell you one of the reasons why I think that happens and why that occurs. So the lungs are not our organ of respiration. The lungs are our organ of gas exchange.
Right.
The nose is our organ of respiration, and the diaphragm is the muscle of respiration. And we're using the diaphragm and the nose basically to help get the proper gases in and out of the body so we can be alive. So what happens is when people focus on the lungs, they're focusing on something that doesn't actually breathe. You know, the lungs only move because the diaphragm is moving it. Diaphragm stops moving, then the lungs aren't going to be doing anything. So I think that a lot of the breathing instructions that even you find in some of the pranayama books actually are not indicating the right physiological functions and directing awareness towards where awareness shouldn't be directed. For example, the lungs. Like, we're supporting the lungs to do their thing. But we're also really concerned with what's happening in the respiratory centers of the brain, for example. That's where breathing is initiated from the brainstem. So if we're choosing to very deliberately move the awareness and the activity of our breath in a particular way, what's happening is we're accessing brainstem respiratory centers and other respiratory centers of the brain, controlling them so that they become more effective in their signaling. And then the lungs naturally then will be in a state where they can be receptive to the breath. They can fill even maybe a little bit more than normal because none of the accessory muscles in the intercostal muscles or in the neck or in the trapezius are impeding the expansion of the rib cage. But when we try to take a deep breath, we, as they say in anatomical terms, we recruit all of the accessory muscles which cause tension and prevent the lungs from actually expanding and contracting in a way which is effortless for them. So that's my take on it. So
Beautiful.
I first read about this particular practice in Andre van Lisbeth's book, Pranayama, that was written in the 1950s, early 1960s. Andre van Lisbeth's called Pranayama. And he didn't discuss all of the things I shared. A lot of them are things, he just talked about the roasting, and he talked about the 3 different ways that the breath is going to travel into the nostrils and be guided by the turbinates. And the rest of it I kind of added in on my own. But it's a good preparatory practice for doing. Now what happens is then your nervous system becomes very receptive, and it says, okay, I'm feeling very calm. And now if you want to begin to manipulate the breath in different ways, you can do so without causing any tension.
Love it. Wow. Thanks for that, Eddie. And hopefully everyone out there noticed some calming effect, just by slowing down the breath and breathing. So, as I've noticed people commenting, if you're feeling anxious or just need to slow down, just do this practice. So simple, right? How we just did it. And you can hear Eddie's voice, calmly guiding us through this beautiful practice. So definitely use that. As you mentioned, this can prepare us to do other sorts of practice. And there are potentially times when we may want to feel a little more energy as well. And, we talk about calming and energizing for healing. There may be times we want to move a little bit of energy in the body using the breath. Can you speak to that and maybe walk us through a simple practice for that if you, want?
Sure. So the practices that are usually associated with being energizing are those that are going to begin to send more blood flow to the brain. And these will be Kapalabhati and Bhastrika, as well as Brahmari, which, though it's calming, is also stimulating because of the sound that you're making in the brain. So we can try a round of Kapalabhati if you'd like to. If you prefer, we can do Brahmari. You tell me which one you'd rather do, and that's what we'll do, Doctor.
Let's do Brahmari, because then we can, see the hand placement. And I think it's just a nice, easy, gentle practice for people to do when they need a little, vibration in the head.
Cool. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I do this just about every day.
Awesome.
So the Brahmari is the humming bee, and the Brahmara is a male humming bee, and Brahmari is a female humming bee. And in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, they say that on the exhalation, you make the sound of a female humming bee. On the inhalation, you make the sound of a male humming bee. That's a little bit trickier to do. So what we'll do today is we'll just do the female humming bee. Okay. And so if everyone would just try this one time, make a humming sound with your lips together like you're saying the sound of like at the end of Om. And feel where the vibration is. Feel it in your lips. Okay.
I also feel it a little in the back of my throat. Should I try to do any differently? Or?
This was an experiential thing to see what happens when we direct the sound to the back of the throat. So now, this time, like you're saying the word king, make an NG sound, a nasalized sound in the back of the throat, and leave your lips a little bit open. So you'll go, king. And then you should really feel it in the back of the throat, maybe vibrating in the ears, the whole guttural region. So this whole guttural region is really important, especially into the ears too, because there are the vagus nerve is passing in this area of the larynx, and through the trachea and further down. and there are nuclei from the inner ear that are communicating with the vagal nerves. So we're stimulating this whole sort of vagal complex in the ear and throat area, and also in the palate at the same time. So when we do the Brahmhari, this is where we want the sound to be. You can also do it with your mouth slightly open if you want to. Okay? So, and then next, we will do the mudra of the Shanmukhi mudra, and this will, although in the research that has been done on this particular pranayama, it doesn't really make a difference effect-wise whether you use the mudra or not, but it's nice to use the mudra because when you release your hands from your face, you feel super, super cleansed in the sense organs. So this is how you do it. You'll take your pinkies and you put them right under your lips at the cleft of the chin. And then you'll take your ring fingers and place them together right below your nose, at the center of the nose. So above your upper lip and not in your nostrils. And then these first two fingers will cover gently over your eyes. And then the thumbs will go pressing down the flap of the ear or on the inside of the ear. So that's the Shanmukhi mudra. And now what we'll do is, if you, don't close your ears yet so you can hear me, we'll do 5 rounds of humming with the NG sound. And don't press your eyes too hard, just keep them lightly. And if you keep your lips slightly open, that's okay to make that NG humming sound. And it can work with only one hand. If you only have one hand to use, that's okay. But you can also do it with no hands and just do the sound on its own. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do the mudra, and at your own pace 5 times. Inhale and then exhale, hum. And when you're done, inhale and exhale, hum again. When you finish, you can rest your hands on the knees. Keep the eyes closed and let your awareness rest in your inner ear, in the eye, and the muscles of the face. Maybe feeling an expanded feeling in the brain and the skull cavity. And then we can open the eyes.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, one thing, it definitely made me smile thinking about buzzing like a bee. And I like the mudras. And I do feel a little more enlivened now.
Yeah.
So amazing how these things make us, feel subtle differences. One question I did have for you that comes up a lot for me is there are many different ways to teach all of these breathing techniques. What's your answer to, when people say like, oh, I learned it this way, how should I do it? I get that question a lot. So I'm curious to see what you think or what you say.
Yeah. There are thousands of different ways of doing all of these pranayamas. And the text is very clear on this. A lot of the texts are very clear on this. that there are thousands of different ways. And so if you learned it with the mudra slightly different, with, maybe some people learn it like this, with the thumbs here and here, that's also correct. And some people learn pranayama with 2 fingers open, pressing here. Some people learn it like this. Those are also both correct. The most important thing is that we learn these things from a teacher who has experience in these practices, and that they've learned something from their experience, so they can then pass it on to us in a way which is beneficial. And that's probably the most important thing. So,
Beautiful. Yeah.
What's a teacher doing, really? But when it comes to something, Deepak is texting me. Can you speak? I'll text him back after. So okay, this is my thought on it. You can let me know what you think about that. But I think that when we go to a spiritual teacher, specifically, what they're doing is not giving us information in the practices that they give us, but they're giving us their experience through the vehicle of the practice that they're teaching us, so that we are brought to their level of consciousness, perhaps over time, if we do the things the way they instructed us to do them. And so, like it said, that we can only, give to someone the limit of our understanding, the limit of our knowledge. And that when we do that, then they can rise up where we are, and then on their own they can go beyond, and then maybe we'll learn something from them. So I think what's happening with a lot of these things, when we look at the rishis and we look at the yogis, they attained these profound levels of consciousness. They had these profound perceptions and insights and experiences. And then they would give us practices: chant this mantra, do this pranayama, stand on your head and breathe in this particular way, focus at your nose and think of whatever. And in order to lift us up to where they were. And so that the information in the practice itself is will be varied, and it's almost inconsequential. The important thing is that we do it, and we do it in such a way that we understand what the essential purpose is behind why we're doing these things, the why we're doing it. Because now we're so information heavy in the world that we forget what it is that we're trying to achieve, understand, move towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that perspective, Eddie. Thank you so much for sharing that and keeping us connected. I can tend to get in my head sometimes as well, and especially as there's so much science around all of these practices, and to really validate how powerful these practices are, but keeping us grounded in that intention of really awakening to our highest nature, and to expand the consciousness within us, which is really the ultimate who am I and why am I here journey. And so, I just so appreciate your insights, and wish we could. I want to come and spend 6 months learning from you or more. But I'll give you a chance to. This has been a wonderful time together. I'll give you a chance for some parting words. But one of the things that you said that I really want to kind of really contemplate today is breath, mind, awareness being one experience, breath, mind, and awareness, and incorporate the practices, both of which we did today aren't part of my regular practice. I do some Nadi Shodhana and just kind of simple coherent breathing every day. But, part of my journey has been to continually add new practices, new knowledge, to my life experience. So thank you for that. And what parting words would you like to leave with us on our breath?
First I would like to apologize to you and to everyone here, and also
No
to
problem.
Jody and Darlene for not figuring out how to get on, and that was strange. So my deep apologies for delaying everyone. And then there were just a couple of questions. Nomad Soul wanted to know, which hand do I do Nadi Shodhana? I use my right hand. This is how it was taught to me and what it says in the text. However, I have seen places where they do use the left hand as well, particularly the Tibetan practices. We'll inhale and exhale using the right, inhale and exhale using the left. And of course, if for any reason you are missing your right hand or your right arm, which I have friends and students who have been, then of course you can use your left hand. And also you will find some deeper teachings on Nadi Shodhana where you do it mentally. You don't actually use your hands at all, and Dr. Vasant Lad demonstrates this as well. So Mina, you can read about the rose breath in Andre van Lisbeth's book, Pranayama. This is available still on the internet. You can find it from your favorite bookseller or have them order it. It's an amazingly great book, written in the 1960s. And Adshay has asked several times about SI joint pain in the lower back and what do I think helps. So although we're not talking about SI pain right now, I know how painful that is. So there are certain practices you can do, stabilizing practices for the SI joint. If you want to send me a DM, I can direct you towards those things.
Wonderful. And how can people stay connected with you, Eddie? Your sites.
I use Instagram. And my name on Instagram is @EddieStern. I have a website, which is also called eddiestern.com. And in fact, Adshay, there are practices on my website that you can find that are helpful as well for the SI, but DM me anyway. And that's the two ways. I have a breathing app, which is free, called The Breathing App. Yes. And this is a coherence breathing app that people can use if they just want some guided breathing. And I have a book called One Simple Thing, which has a lot of information about pranayama in it as well. And Lorraine, the name of the book is simply Pranayama, and I'll write Andres van Lisbeth's name. He's no longer alive, but his name is here in the comments, Andre van Lisbeth, and you can find his books there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing. Stay connected to Eddie, and also you can hear him on our Chopra Wellbeing and Meditation app with his breathing series, and Chopra.com and Instagram Live. And I'd love to have Eddie back again to share his wisdom. You can see he has so much to share with us. And you better go and answer Deepak now. So
yeah, definitely. And thank you.
Thank you so much, and no worries on the tech stuff. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
And I would love to do this again with you anytime, and we should talk about other stuff too. There's so much we have to talk about.
Absolutely, absolutely, anytime. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Thank you.
And,
thank you.
Yeah, namaste.
Yes. Thank you, Paloma. I know I have 2 weeks off from teaching, so I stopped shaving. So
you have your fans here, yeah. And thank you too for answering questions. You're so attentive to all of our participants here. So
my pleasure. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.